Trump asking for a special master. Now, the Justice Department and the special master, if they get appointed, which this case doesn't call for special master because it has to do with international security, national security, and international affairs with our allies. So this is not something for a public judge to be debating in a public arena of a public court when this is highly sensitive, nationalized national security issues with weapons of mass destruction. And it has to do with our adversary nations and our ally nations to keep ourselves secured and our allies secured. So that's not in her purview, in her jurisdiction. She's out of bounds. It's beyond her pay grade. It's beyond her pay power realm of that bench. And the jurisdiction, she doesn't have the credentials to judge this case, in my opinion. But if they do appoint a special master, these Republican judge, then while Trump, you got to understand, because Trump is putting a special master because he's afraid of the communications in his administration when he was obstructing the Mueller report, when he was vetting out Robert Mueller, the FBI, and the CIA, and the Southern District of New York because they were investigating him and auditing his financial records while the Mueller report was going on. And they found out that he wanted to build a Moscow Tower and all of that. So he started vetting out the Southern District, firing the attorney generals of the Southern District of New York. To this day, they reclosed down an investigation that had to do with financial auditing, criminal financial auditing of Trump's administrations. I don't know the interest that keeps on closing down those Southern District's criminal investigations on Trump's financials. But now there's a civil investigation, but that can go right back to criminal investigations and auditing Trump's financial dealings with the snake oil con artists of industries that he was doing while he was president under the Rex Tillerson and Carl Icahn preview of American oligarchs. And in my opinion, that's what was going on. And so Trump was obstructing the Mueller report for that reason. And so to cover up his trails. So a special master cannot evade those materials from the Justice Department because Trump appointed a Republican judge to the Miami District Bench. They cannot expect to abide and abide him. It's like if Nixon was having his recording tapes, and a judge says, a special master say, "Oh, I know you broke into the Watergate office. I know you broke in. I know you hired plumbers to obtain espionage evidence on your political opponents, and you wanted to use this evidence to win re-election. So we're going to hide these tapes for you to make sure that you win re-election." In other words, it will be against the law for a lawyer to do that. It will be against the law for a judge to do that, let alone a special master. So that's an analogy that in Miami, the special master that they're debating, that Trump thinks that they're going to, these are personal records. These are lawyer confidentiality records between him and his crony lawyers that were implicated themselves in committing crimes. So he can't claim lawyer confidentiality, and he can't claim that these are personal records of his. Because at the end of the day, if there's records there that implicate him by obstructing the Mueller report to hide his corruption with the fossil fuel interest deals of his administrators, Carl Icahn and Rex Tillerson, and how he was vetting out the Mueller report to do that, to business as usual with his oil oligarchs, and then when he was blackmailing Lazinski to find dirt on his political opponent, not to mention 2016, he was insinuating for Russia to find dirt on his political opponent, espionage evidence. And Papadopoulos in the White House, Stephanopoulos or Papadopoulos, NBC reporter was interviewing him in the Oval Office saying, "Hey, if the FBI said that if you received espionage evidence from a foreign government to use against your political opponent, would you call the FBI and inform them?" Trump says, "No, why should I?" And then he said, "Because it's against the law." He says, "Who says that? Who says that?" And then Stephanopoulos said, "At the FBI?" And Trump says, "The FBI is wrong." In other words, that's how Trump thinks of himself, that beyond the laws, he can just make it up and trump it up as he goes along. And so, for a special master, like the analogy I said about Nixon and his tapes, if a special master, knowing that these incriminative personal records can implicate Trump and his lawyers in a ongoing racketeering business and abuse of office racketeering indictment, then for a special master to sweep it underneath the rug and to abide by sweeping it underneath the rug, then him himself as a special master will be committing crimes. So how further does Trump want to implicate all his personal lawyers? Like the lawyers in Mar-a-Lago, when they said they handed it over all the classified archives and they signed the affidavit saying they turned it all over, they were really lying on behalf, knowing that Trump had other boxes with other archives that he didn't want to turn over. So even the lawyers knowingly committed a crime, a felony. The ones that are representing him currently when it comes to Mar-a-Lago. Now, like an analogy, like Nixon, if you, as a special master, know that Nixon hired break-in spies to break into the headquarters of the DNC, Watergate, to steal any type of files that they can use as disinformation for Nixon to win re-election, with a special master knowing that the evidence is evidence of a crime, with the special master knowingly sweep that evidence underneath the rug, saying, "Oh, it's his confidentiality between him and his personal lawyers," or what's the lawyer say for Miami? She said, "Continual prosecutions tend to rise a symptom of stigma." So that's her excuse to sweep all the incriminative evidence underneath a rug, is the way she interprets her judgment. So at the end of the day, if there's personal information that Trump was using with Giuliani, Sidney Powell, to steal an election, to overturn a free and fair election, to subvert minorities in swing states, to deny minorities their votes, if there's information in archives that shows the communications that implicates Trump in obstructing the Mueller report, like Mueller said, Trump is the biggest obstructionist in American history. So if there's information that Trump was hiding his criminalities for the love of oil, for the love of being a snakes oils con artist like Rockefeller's father, on behalf of his administrators, Carl Icahn and Rex Tillerson, then that is an ongoing criminal enterprise. That, if Giuliani will say, that is a business racketeering in criminal ongoing enterprise. And Giuliani, I'm sad to say that you implicated yourself with your theory as Trump's personal lawyer. RICO. So, at the end of the day, if Trump blackmailed Lisinski, saying if you don't find dirt on Biden, we would not flow energy through your Ukrainian pipelines, and we would not give you any military aid. And Trump sending Giuliani over there to fire the American ambassador for he can have a lenient American diplomat in Ukraine to make oil deals with Russia, while he's thinking of inviting Putin to Doral as an observer to the G7 summit, for he can appoint and crown Putin right back into the G8 summit for the love of Exxon, to make windfall profits in the Arctic Russian energy markets, to flood energy into Europe. That's what Trump was really doing during his administration. And so for a special master not to recognize that all of this is evidence of an ongoing criminal enterprise, because Trump should have been outlawed from public office for this type of deeds. So for a special master to argue repeated prosecution tends to rise a stigma. So for Trump's vanity, we're so forced to forego the law as he descends down those golden escalators. I don't think that's a good argument, Judge. Stigma and Trump's vanity of mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon? judge with a special master, I don't think it cuts the cake. At the end of the day, I'm being a little bit facetious to point out the truth. How ignorant this judge is to think that that argument can stand in a court of law. Continued prosecutions tends to rise a symptom of stigma. So what Trump is going to argue because of his stigma? Oh, my January 6th ellipse speech was better than Martin Luther King I Had a Dream speech. And my crowds were bigger than his. Wow, you had Confederates ready to hang Mike Pence, kill Nancy Pelosi, blow up Kamala Harris with two pipe bombs. You call that stigma and hurting Trump's pride, his vanity? When he's really a con artist, a snake oil's con artist on behalf of Exxon and Carl Gas Refinery Industries, you think I'm gonna kowtow and bow to the praise of your pagan deity for your cult movement? At the end of the day, as he descends down those golden escalators, is he a pagan god to the Republicans? How far you want to go with this type of an occult movement? Is he going to say, like he already said, he said, I'm better than Washington. I'm better than Lincoln. In the United Nations, he got laughed out of the assembly floor when he says there's never been a president more important and consequential. There's never been a president more important than him in American history. They laughed him off the floor. But let's go back to this court judge and stigma. So for his vanity, we are to suffer injustices. In swing states, minorities are supposed to be subverted. In swing states, our districts as Latinos, Asians, Arabs, our minority districts are supposed to be subverted and not counted when they go to these districts that the minorities are the majorities in those districts. Like Giuliani was doing in the swing states, going to those black neighborhoods, going to those Latino neighborhoods to say, oh, these ballots are illegal. At the end of the day, are we to care about Trump's vanity, a stigma? As he says to himself as he looks in the mirror and says, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest on them all? Or as he calls this judge and says, Judge, can I count on your loyalty? Can you pardon me? Do you have any grave upon? Type of stigma. Like, what should I think as he descends down those golden escalators? With his Order to Deal Bible, he said, the Order to Deal book is better than the Bible. Are you have to make an occult leader out of this guy? No, apologize. He already is an occult leader. How far are you going to go with stigma to feed into his vanity disorder? At the end of the day, if those special masters sweep underneath the rug incriminative evidence that proved that Mueller was obstructed in his report and implicates Trump with Car Icon Industries and Rex Tillerson, and he was using their oligarchism and launder money back into his real estate as president, they were making the White House into a get-rich Ponzi scheme with business racketeering. They were obstructing the Mueller report. That's enough to go to jail as an indictment. And a special master cannot sweep none of that underneath the rug. The same thing if he was blackmailing Lasinski for pro quos to find dirt on his political opponents, just to put an American ambassador that was lenient towards Russia, for he can invite Putin to Doral, as he was saying, to be an observer at the G7 summit, for he can get ExxonMobil and Putin back into the G8 summit. That's while Giuliani was going over there with his two Ukrainian energy partners, firing the ambassador. None of that can be swept underneath the rug by a special master. The same way that Trump was trying to overturn the 2020 elections, using Giuliani and Sidney Powell. If all of that implicates Trump and trying to impose a coup d'etat, like Steve Bannon said, hey, he's going to claim, even if he lost, he's going to claim he won. And then around 11 o'clock in the evening, he's going to claim that it was stolen off of him. And then we can crown him king of the republic. Because then from there, he doesn't have to seek approval of votes no more. In other words, that's his second term, so he doesn't have to worry about re-election. So all of that with Sidney Powell, Michael Flynn, all that communications with Glendale, all of their communications, Giuliani, Sidney Powell, and all of them, if there's private records there that shows evidence of a crime, Trump can't say, well, this is lawyer confidentiality agreements, because those lawyers knowingly participated in a crime and covering up a crime, like Giuliani and Sidney Powell. So none of that can be, Trump can claim it with a special master and say, this is lawyer confidentiality documents. No, if it's evidence of a crime, then he's implicated and his lawyers are implicated. It's called RICO, an ongoing criminal enterprise. So at the end of the day, special master, I don't think has the to mention the least of situations that don't in those archives. Is this shows that Trump was about to obstruct justice when it came to classified documents of nuclear defense. For some reason, he feels like he should hold on to nuclear defense archives, knowing that, at least I know that, it'd be easy for China or Russia to hack into his Trump organization human resource department and implant a new hiree to work in any one of the Trump's buildings, organizations that can just take those archives. So for 42 or 43 folders to be empty, and now he's denying those documents and impeding the Justice Department along with the FBI to issue more subpoenas and follow up to retrieve those archives. And those archives can endanger not only the national security of America when it comes to super weapons, but it can endanger our allies abroad and their capabilities. So a special master doesn't have jurisdiction, let alone to be persuading over this case. And as far as stigma, I'm not caught up on Trump's vanity. That doesn't rock my boat. Like, it doesn't get me in the mood for politics or what? Stigma. Oh, is that mirror, mirror on the wall? Who's the fairest of them all? Stigma argument? That doesn't stand up in a court of trial, a court of law. Vanity is not an issue for being above the law. So, all that in consideration, a special master is Trump's way of saying, hey, I'm a masturbator and I'm jerking off the penile statutes. I might have to say it facetiously because he got to this point that he doesn't deserve nothing but trumpery. Look it up on the dictionary what trumpery means. Trumpery. Not temporary, but trumpery. And Trump's boils down to that dictionary definition. Let alone a judge saying that I should worry about his stigma as he descends down those golden escalators. To me, that don't mean nothing. Because I don't feed into that egotism of vanity or that stigma that he has, that everything he touches turns into gold. He reminds me of a WWE character. Goldust and Mr. Perfect rolled up into one. Makes Trump's egotisms, his narcissistic disorder. And I gotta worry about his stigma? Really, Judge? I have to worry about his stigma. What is this? Did he call that judge from Miami? Probably the Rubio recommended her. I don't know how she got on the bench, but the Bar Association said that she is unqualified. In the history of their nominations to the Senate for nominees to be appointed to the bench, the Bar Association wrote to the Congress, to the Senate, and said that this judge is the most un unqualified judge nominee in their history of interpreting nominees for the bench. So I believe she proved them right when she argued about stigma. Like, what is Trump sitting her beside when he goes to Mar-a-Lago? Judge, can I count on your loyalty? Remember how Trump told before before he fired Comey, he sat him down. He said, "Can I count on your loyalty?" And then he fired Comey because Comey didn't want to go for that. In other words, Trump was trying to say, "Hey, can I count on you to obstruct the Mueller report? Can I count on you to stop any investigations that might come my way? Can I count on your loyalty?" For personal gains for himself, Trump asked Comey, "Can I count on your loyalty?" So I wonder, did he ask this judge, "Can I count on your loyalty?" Before he decided to advise her for a special master as he masturbates and jerks off the penile statute to try to keep on getting away with crimes and say, "Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?" Like, stigma. What do you think I give a damn about stigma of this vanity disorder? At the end of the day, it would have been illegal for any judicial system. That's an analogy with the Nixon analogy. I don't think Trump can appoint a special master to keep on obstructing and just sweeping all his illegalities underneath the rug. You know? He should have been outlawed from public office a long time ago. Let alone a judge arguing about his vanity stigmas. To me, hey, I'm not an occult follower, so don't get to me at that argument, Judge, that he's a god pagan as he descends down those golden escalators. What are we to do? Hang a statue of him on a Washington pagan monument? Put a bust of his head on top of that monument and say this is the pagan god of the occult republic? When you have Michael Flynn, or may I say, aka Q? You know? To me, this circus act of trumpery, look it up in the dictionary, Judge. Trumpery. Look it up in the dictionary. Because you will see Trump's DNA written all over the definition. Stigma. Stigma my ass. Is that being a little bit like Don Rickles? If I had to break it down a little bit satire, you know? Stigma. Stigma. So for Trump vanity, we should forego the republic. We should forego the rights of minorities. We should forego the civil rights of minorities. We should forego national security. We should forego the agencies. We should forego everything for this pagan god descending down the golden escalators. It used to be famous, but now he sees himself more like a deity. You know, the chosen one. I am the chosen one. My book is better than the Bible. My speech on January 6th was better than Martin Luther King's. My crowds were bigger than his. My inauguration was bigger than Obama's. Stigma. I think your client, Your Honor, that you're arguing on behalf has a real stigma of narcissistic, megalomaniac narcissism disorder that you call his self-esteem. To me, Judge, don't come to me with hypocrisy. Because at the end of the day, if you don't smell when everybody's... Let me stop being a little bit harsh. But if you keep brown-nosing Judge, his stigma, you will start to smell that everybody's shit stinks at the end of the day. And nobody is above the law when they break it. And abruptly and repeatedly like Trump. To not smell his stench of his stint in public office is beyond me. For you, Your Honor, and any goddamn special master, as Trump masturbates the legal system again as a masturbator, jerking off the penile regulatory statutes. Yeah, he's a jerk off. And at the end of the day, if I have to sound facetious, it's just to prove a point. To prove a point. I'm tired of this Trump Alpha Omega grand deity of your pagan and the excuses y'all make for him. To me, I don't live in a republic that is in the likeness of a pagan god, descending down the golden escalators with his order to deal better than the Bible. Like, to me, your cult leader and his vanity of stigma doesn't mean shit to me. I'm not here to worship your God. Oh, this is not the Republican Party no more. This is the Trump Party. As I descend down those golden escalators. So he's already rebranding the Republic in his likeness. And any Republicans that might contradict him, oh, you're rhinos. You're part of the deep state. You're the enemy of the peoples. Subjugating and dividing and conquering the Republicans. And the only kowtow pussies are people like Lindsay. Or may I say, lying Ted. Lying, saying, oh, to Carson Tucker. These are terrorists, the people that terrorized the Capitol building. Carson Tucker said, no, these are patriots. How dare you call them terrorists? Ted Cruz said, you're right, these are patriots. Sniveling cowards of politicians like Lindsay trying to stab Mitch McConnell for either leadership of the Senate or the vice ticket on the 2024 ticket. Lindsay, Southern Scarlet, Trump's little Southern Scarlet, that every time Trump looks at Lindsay, he says, darn it, Lindsay, all the damn places you happen to walk into this Casablanca. And then he kisses Lindsay on the forehead like he did Mike Pence, before he threw Mike Pence underneath the bus and said, hey, I can understand why my supporters wanted to hang him. And I'm going to pardon them when I get into 2024. Judge, you got the gall to say we should worry about his vanity stigma.